hello, everybody. How are you? I am here again with another topic. The Coelophora, ciliates, as this is a model organism, you know, it's paramecium. Of course, this group is really peaceful. You can say totally peaceful. As far as what? As far as pathogenesis is concerned, causing disease is concerned. You see, Coelophora, except one species. I will talk about that. Palantidium coli. All the others are non-parasitic to humans and other domestic animals. Coelophora. They are represented by this model organism, paramecium. This process possesses rows of cilia around the outside of the body that aid motility, of course. The only member of this group known to infect man is Balantidium coli, as I have tried to tell you. This is a cyst-forming parasite that is a commensal. Table sharing, commensal means table sharing, meaning here a non-pathogenic parasite of domestic and wild animals, wild pigs. It does, however, cause severe diarrhea in humans. You see, in these wild pigs and domestic animals, it is commensal in the GI tract. It lives with them as commensal. It is benefiting and do not cause harm, also do not benefit the organism. It does, however, cause diarrhea, balantidiasis. The diarrhea is known as balantidiasis in humans. Cysts pass out of the intestine, similar to the amoeba, pass out the intestine of the infected host and are ingested by the next host. Therefore, transmission is the fecal oral route, similar to the other parasite, the amoeba, the entamoeba histolytica, as we have tried to see it. You can see this diagram. Balantidium coli causes balantidiasis, which is known as dysentery, of course, diarrhea, maybe bloody diarrhea. Sometimes when they multiply in huge amount, they may cause bloody diarrhea. Only ciliated pathogens that cause human disease is this. The cyst form you can see, and the trophozoite form you can see down there. And we ingest the cyst form when there is contamination of our food and water through fecal. The third group, Zoomastigena or flagellates, or Zoomastigophora, you can call them Zoomastigophora. Yeah, also known as Zoomastigophora. This use flagellates, of course. This organism have flagella in the trophozoite stage, not the cyst stage, of course, trophozoite stage. And the most common parasitic forms include, these are from this. The flagellated one, Giardia, GI tract infection, Trichomonas, reproductive system, especially the female's vagina, Trichomonas, flagellate, and the other are trypanosomes. These are trypanosomes can infect even the nervous system, of course. Leishmania, these are the four major groups of Zoomastigena or Zoomastigophora or the flagellated protozoa. Let us see one by one. Giardia lamblia. This is typical, the common diarrhea-causing species. Giardia lamblia can cause a gastrointestinal infection, GI tract infection, the small intestine, called giardiasis. Of course, cysts pass out of the intestine of the infected host and are ingested by the next host. The same fecal oral route. The GI tract. If the parasite is infecting the GI tract, the digestive system, the usual route of transmission is fecal oral route. Remember, contaminated food, contaminated water. How contaminated? It becomes in contact with the feces that contains the cyst. Now, Giardia looks like this one. You can see, you can appreciate. It has 8 flagella, and sucking discs are there. You see this the sucking disc, nucleus, cariosum, axonium. Don't forget about these particular organelles which are not common to other cells. You can see here, this depicts the trophozoite and the cyst form, Giardia lamblia, trophozoite and cyst forms. Giardia lamblia is intestinal flagella with worldwide distribution, of course. Most common intestinal protozoan pathogen causing giardiasis. Yes, transmission is fecal oral route. It is redundancy. And what are the symptoms of giardiasis? Of course, these are symptoms. Fatigue, nausea, diarrhea or greasy stools, loss of appetite, vomiting. If you like, it can also add this bloating and abdominal cramps because there is production of gas in your small intestine, large intestine. Weight loss, if it's severe, weight loss, especially in children. Excessive gas, farting. Huge amount of gas is produced because of the biochemical process by this microbe. And headache, there are headaches, and also abdominal pain. These are symptoms of giardiasis. Uh, you can see again another diagram, the morphology, the cyst form end, the trophozoite form, the actively feeding and dividing stage to the left, the trophozoite, and to the right, the cyst stage. The third group are known as trichomonas. When it comes to trichomonas, of course, these groups are flagellated. We then have one flagella. Trichomonas vaginalis is a typical parasite. As the name indicates, it is the parasite that loves to invade the female's vagina. Of course, it can also infect the male's urethra, but much more common in the females urogenital tract, especially vaginal, pelvic, cervical regions. Trichomonas vaginalis infects the vagina and the male urinary tract, of course, yes, but it's common in the female tract. It doesn't produce a cyst stage and usually transmitted by sexual contact. Remember, Trichomonas has no cyst, unlike other protozoa. By sexual contact, as usual, it's not oral, fecal oral route. This is, it resembles this organism. This organism is the Trichomonas vaginalis. Common symptoms include what do you call this? Trichomoniasis. The disease is known as trichomoniasis. Common symptoms include vaginal discomfort, vaginal itching, burning sensation on urination, both in male and female, of course, foul smelling greenish vaginal discharge, and therefore infection by Trichomonas vaginalis typically raises the vaginal pH from 4.5 to 5, which means not good. In the reproductive age, the female's vagina must stay acidic. That acidity is very good for the health of the reproductive system. Otherwise, if the pH is raised, there are other pathogens like the fungus candida can invade and cause candidiasis, which is ugly, of course. Therefore, when this flagellate invades the vagina and drops the pH, this means paving the way for invasion of the vagina by Candida albicans. That's not good. On physical exam, women may present with colpitis macularis, strawberry cervix. The surface can be damaged by this flagellate, and looks like this picture, this diagram. This is the cervix, how it appears. This is what we call colpitis macularis, medically termed strawberry cervix. And the last, not the least, by no means the least, of course, trypanosoma, trypanosomes or trypanosoma, the last flagellates, of course. Trypanosoma brucei gambiense and Trypanosoma brucei rhodesiense. You see, the same genus, brucei. This causes trypanosomiasis, more commonly known as the African sleeping sickness. You see, and this not only this invade even deep tissues, even the nervous system. The disease is spread by the bite of, this is vector borne, by the bite of the fly or fly, in which part of the trypanosoma life cycle is completed. This is biological factor. This parasite passes one stage of its life cycle inside the body of the fly, so it requires this biological factor for its complete life cycle. And the eventual invasion of the central nervous system, finally, after infection, finally, when this parasite invades the nervous system, it gives rise to a comatose state. or unconscious state, from which the common name for the disease. You feel sleepy, comatose sleep, as if you are totally sluggish and sleepy throughout. That's why the name African sleeping sickness. It's not as simple as sleep. It is fatal. It can kill. It can destroy the nervous system, the brain. The first symptom is comatose state. That means sleepy state, and finally it can kill. You see, human African trypanosomiasis, the Trypanosoma brucei, the two varieties, Gambiense and Rosense, they cause sleeping sickness. And let us say, Trypanosoma brucei, Gambiense, most common, 97% of the sleeping sickness is caused by the Gambiense subtype, especially common in Central and West Africa. Its situation is chronic, its infection is chronic. It starts slow and finally causes brutal after long period of incubation inside us. It causes symptom after long period of infection, after before infection, and until it shows a symptom of the disease, there is gap. That's why we call it chronic. The rhodesiense subtype, Trypanosoma brucei rhodesiense, is the our type, the East African type, East African, South African type. It's acute. The gap between the infection and sign of symptom is very short. You can see the transmission, as we said, infected fly. It can be transmitted from animal to humans through the fly. This fly is found only in sub-Saharan Africa, and there is one the specter transmission, which is very uncommon, of course, from mother to baby. Transfusion needles sexually, it may transfer from the mother to the baby, but it is not very common. It's uncommon, very uncommon. And first stage and second stage, the disease has two stages. The first stage, blood, lymphatic system, or other organs are affected or invaded by this parasite, Trypanosoma brucei varieties. Blood, lymphatic system, or other organs. There is fever, muscle, joint pain, headaches, itching, enlarged lymph nodes, sore, which is known as chancre in the area bitten by this fly. There is sore, wound, chancre. There is itching in that area. Disease in affected organs. The affected organs also show inflammation, abnormality in their function. The second stage, the central nervous system stage. Now the parasite is going to the central nervous system, including the brain. This is known as the neurological stage. So we have neurological symptoms. You feel sleepy, the most common. First state, nighttime sleep disturbance, sleepy during daytime, sleeping sickness, they call it. Please believe me, it can lead to death. It's fatal, not simply sleepy feeling. It can cause multiple organ damage and can cause death if not treated. Trypanosoma cruzi, the second variety. Trypanosoma cruzi causes Chagas disease, which is known as the American trypanosomiasis. America, we are talking about the Southern America, South America. The intermediate host in this case are the triatomide bugs. They are insects, triatomide bugs that feed on the blood of humans, blood of human. Corrected. Uh, Infection results from the inoculation of the bug's feces. You see here, the parasite is not entering into the human body during blood meal. This parasite, which is known as triatomide bug, feeds, especially usually, it injects in the skin on the face to feed on human blood. It feeds there and drops its feces, and its injection is very painful. Even it wakes us from our sleep. at night, and we just while we are trying to react for the burning sensation that has been induced by the biting of these triatomide bugs, we rub the the faces which contains the parasite into that all produced by the beating of this insect, so that it is from the faces into that wound skin that the parasite enters into our systems. Infection results from the inoculation of the bug's feces that contains organism into the bite wound. You see, the bite wound. And individuals who survive the acute stage of the disease are frequently left with chronic and progressive neuronal and smooth muscle lesions in the heart, gas, and gastrointestinal tract. Imagine, this is also neurophilic. It also damages the nervous system, you see, and also gastrointestinal tract, you see. Chagas disease is here. The other name is American trypanosomiasis, named after Carlos Chagas, 1980, the person who first identified this Trypanosoma cruzi. 6.6 to 7 million people infected around worldwide, 10,000 deaths a year, Latin America, then South America. And transmission, this is the bug, triatomide bug, and it bites, it drops its feces. We rub the feces enters into the bite wound into our body. Or the feces may be contaminated food or lab accidentally, blood transfusion, and blood transfusion. It could enter into our blood, our body through blood transfusion. Even it can pass from the mother into the fetus through transplacental. Transplants. It can also, you can also get this parasite infection through organ transplants, or it could be congenitally obtained. Now it passes, the parasite invades mucous membrane, breaks the skin, breaks in skin, enters mucous membrane. Then the parasite, even finally at chronic stage, it can invade the nervous system also. By the way, this vector, which is known as the triatomide bug, that is insect, that transmits the disease, the parasite, into humans, is also known as kissing bug, because of the fact that usually likes to feed by piercing the skin in the face, around the mouth and the lips. That's why they dubbed this insect kissing bug. It can pass from infected animal to infected animal. From infected animal, this vector can take the parasite, pass it to human, or this parasite may take this vector may take the parasite from infected person while feeding food and pass it to the healthy human. This is the way transmitted. You can see here, triatomide bug diagram. You see, it is proboscis by who it sucks our blood. The first, the acute phase, presentation, the acute phase, 1 to 2 weeks, mild symptoms, fever, malaise, headache, rash around the biting area. Diarrhea, you may, because GI tract also is infected by this parasite. Vomiting, enlargement of liver, spleen, lymph nodes. You see, it can reach few weeks to months. There is chagoma, in the bitten area there is chagoma, that means swollen reddish inflammation. The otherwise Romanosine is also observed, where if it bites around the eye, you can have this swelling of the eyelids, the skin around. This is known as the Romano sign. The asymptomatic sometimes sever the symptom. This infection may be asymptomatic, and sometimes it could be severe, especially in children and in those with weak immune system. The disease could be fatal. It's very serious. You see, this is what the American trypanosomiasis caused by Trypanosoma cruzi. Trypanosoma cruzi and multi-organ, multi-system infection is caused by this parasite. It is lethal. It is fatal. It can kill. Okay, I think we are to the next section now. This is the chronic stage of the disease, which is trypanosomiasis, the Chagas disease or the American trypanosomiasis. 70 to 80% may be asymptomatic, as I have said earlier. 10 to 20%, 70 to 80% asymptomatic. That means 20 to 30% show symptoms, multiple organ infection symptoms, of course. The heart, intestine, and other, including the ureters, are affected. Enlargement of the heart muscle, enlargement of the colon or esophagus is also the problem. Enlargement of the heart failure, rhythm disturbance, that means heartbeat disturbance is also seen. Difficulty swallowing, difficulty passing a bowel motion whenever there is inflammation, high degree of inflammation in the GI tract. These are the symptoms seen. The chronic stage. Therefore, chronic stage in some 20 to 30%. Special organs infected are the heart and the GI tract, including the small and large intestine, where there is inflammation, enlargement, and even esophagus also. This chronic stage, you see, chronic stage may appear 10 to 20 years after initial infection, of course. It may last long period of time. The incubation period, you see, it's very long. Therefore, even it can affect the ureters, kidney, and around the tubes, ureters, of course. Diagnosis, you can laboratory technique. You can use laboratory technique, and blood sample is taken. You can diagnose for the presence of the parasite, the causative agent. In the chronic phase, antibodies are also observed. Antibodies against the Trypanosoma cruzi, the body produces that. Antibody is also one way of diagnosing antibody against Trypanosoma cruzi. Checking for parasite in tissue biopsies, you can take if GI tract is infected, you take sample of tissue from GI tract, the colon, small intestine, and observe for the presence of the microbe, the parasite. If the heart, you take sample tissue from the heart and diagnose for. You can do even culture by taking some fluid. You can do culture. You grow. If there is the microbe, you see by microscopy, and even you can use PCR, genetic fingerprinting technique, to identify this particular trypanosoma that causes this disease known as Chagas disease. Thank you very much. Please don't forget subscribing, sharing, and liking my videos. I will come again by another session. Thank you very much. Bye bye.